Hello students, welcome on board. This is part 5 of the chapter Human Reproduction, wherein you will be learning about menstrual cycle, which includes menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulatory phase and luteal phase. For better understanding, please do watch part 4 of this chapter. Without further ado, let's begin with the topic. The menstrual cycle is the reproductive cycle of female primates, which include apes, monkeys and human beings. The first menstruation begins at puberty, which is around the age of 10 to 15, and it is called menarche. An average interval of a menstrual cycle is about 28 to 29 days, and the cyclical event starting from day 1 of the menstruation till the next cycle is called the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle has 4 phases: the menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulatory phase, and luteal phase. Now, menstrual cycle is all about the changes that take place within the ovary and uterus, and these changes are induced by 4 hormones, and these are luteinizing hormone, follicular stimulating hormone, estrogen, and progesterone. Now, the luteinizing hormone and the follicular stimulating hormones are released by pituitary, and these are called pituitary hormones. They are pituitary hormones. Whereas estrogen and progesterone, these are ovarian hormones. So the changes during a menstrual cycle are induced by the pituitary hormones and the ovarian hormones. We'll begin with the first phase of the menstrual cycle, which is the menstrual phase. And here is a figure which shows the different development and changes that take place within the ovary during menstrual cycle. Here you will find the follicular development, the levels of pituitary and ovarian hormones, and also the endometrial cycle. Now, this part of the figure shows the menstrual phase of the menstrual cycle. Now, if you look at the levels of the pituitary and ovarian hormones, the levels are very low, right? And due to the low levels of these hormones, what happens? The endometrium, or the innermost lining of the uterus, begins to break down. And the breakdown of the inner lining or the endometrium is called the menstrual flow, which lasts for 3 to 5 days. So menstrual flow or menstruation is the breakdown. It's the breakdown of the endometrial lining of the uterus. And during the breakdown of the endometrial lining, the blood vessels form a liquid with the unfertilized ovum, which comes out through the vagina, and it is called the menstrual flow, and the menstrual flow lasts for 3 to 5 days. Now, the menstruation or the menstrual flow occurs only if the fertilization has not taken place. And lack of menstruation indicates pregnancy, which means that the fertilization has taken place. So we've learned that during the menstrual cycle, the levels of pituitary and ovarian hormones are at very low level, which results in the breakdown of the endometrial lining, and it is called the menstrual flow. The menstrual flow or the menstruation lasts for 3 to 5 days, and it occurs only if the fertilization does not take place. And lack of menstruation indicates pregnancy, and it can also be due to other factors like poor health, stress, diseases, etc. Now, the menstrual phase is then followed by the follicular phase. Now, during the follicular phase, the pituitary gland releases FSH or follicular stimulating hormone. As you can see here, there's a slight increase in the follicular stimulating hormone, right? Now, this FSH then stimulates ovary to produce 5 to 20 follicles. Now, within each follicle, there is an immature egg or a secondary oocyte which produces the hormone estrogen. And as the follicles grow, the level of estrogen rises significantly. Alright. So during the follicular phase, the pituitary gland releases FSH, and FSH stimulates the ovary to produce 5 to 20 follicles, and within each follicle there is an immature egg or secondary oocyte which produce the hormone estrogen. Right. Now, one of the follicles from these follicles grew faster than the others to form the Graafian follicle. One follicle grows faster than the others to form the Graafian follicle. The growth of these follicles then results in the significant rise in the levels of hormone estrogen. So there will be a significant rise in the level of estrogen as the follicles keep growing. Now here you can see a significant rise in the level of hormone estrogen, right? The increase in estrogen results in two outcomes. First, it inhibits the follicular stimulating hormone, which leads to the fall in the follicular stimulating hormone. And this fall results in the degeneration of all the other small follicles except the Graafian follicle. And the second outcome is that the endometrial lining of the uterus thickens with nutrients and blood. So we've learned that the increase in estrogen level inhibits the secretion of follicular stimulating hormone, which leads to the fallen follicular stimulating hormone that results in the degeneration of follicles. Except the Graafian follicle. All right. The rise in estrogen also results in the endometrial thickening. It results in the endometrial thickening with blood and nutrients. In order to prepare uterus for pregnancy in case if the fertilization takes place. All right. The follicular phase is then followed by the ovulatory phase, which begins with the rise in pituitary hormones, the luteinizing hormone and the follicular stimulating hormone. Now, in the case of luteinizing hormone, there is a rapid secretion of luteinizing hormone and it attains maximum level during the mid-cycle, that is around the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. So, we've learned that the ovulatory phase begins with the rise in follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. In case of luteinizing hormone is rapidly secreted and it attains maximum level during the mid-cycle. It attains maximum level during the mid-cycle, which is around the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. All right. And the significant rise in the luteinizing hormone is called LH surge. It is called LH surge. And this LH surge results in the rupture of Graafian follicle to release ovum, and this process is called ovulation. So during the ovulatory phase, there is a significant rise in the luteinizing hormone, which is called LH surge, which results in the rupture of Graafian follicle to release the ovum. All right. The ovulatory phase is followed by the last phase of the menstrual cycle, which is the luteal phase. Now, during the luteal phase, there is a significant drop in the pituitary hormones, which are the luteinizing hormone and the follicular stimulating hormone. All right. Now, in case of Graafian follicle, the remaining part of the Graafian follicle after ovulation transform into corpus luteum. And the corpus luteum then release large amount of progesterone and estrogen. Now, the progesterone is required for the maintenance of endometrium. As you can see here, the endometrium is thickened and it is required for the implantation and maintenance of pregnancy. So, we've learned that during the luteal phase, there is a significant drop significant drop in the pituitary hormones, which are luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone. And in case of Graafian follicle, the remaining parts of the Graafian follicle, transform into the corpus luteum, which secretes large amount of progesterone, and estrogen. Alright, now the progesterone then maintains the thickened endometrium. It maintains the thickened endometrium, which is required for the implantation. It is required for the implantation and maintenance of pregnancy. Now let's recap the process of menstrual cycle. We've learned that the menstrual cycle begins with a menstrual phase, during which the uterus sheds its lining due to low levels of pituitary and ovarian hormones. The menstrual phase is then followed by the follicular phase, during which there is a significant rise in the follicular stimulating hormone to produce follicles. And one of the follicles from these follicles then develop into Graafian follicle. During the follicular phase, the endometrial lining begins to thicken as well. The follicular phase is then followed by ovulatory phase, during which there is a rapid rise in luteinizing hormone, and this is called LH surge. And due to LH surge, the Graafian follicle ruptures to release the ovum, and this process is called ovulation. And the last phase is the luteal phase, during which the corpus luteum secretes large amount of progesterone and estrogen. The progesterone then helps to maintain the thickened endometrium for pregnancy in case the fertilization takes place. If the fertilization does not take place, then it brings us back to the day 1 of the menstrual cycle. Now, in case of human females, the menstrual cycle stops around the age of 50 years, and this is called menopause. Alright, so that's it for the session. This was part 5, where we've learned about the menstrual cycle. In part 6, we'll be covering fertilization and pregnancy. If you found this helpful, please do like the video, and if you have any doubts, comment down below. Subscribe to watch the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching.